Steelers Nation. Our team is working harder than ever to improve, evolve, and bring championships back to the Steel City. Training camp is fully underway, and while we've had some exciting developments, we've also had a few tough setbacks. But as always, we stay strong and keep building. If you're excited about this team and want daily inside access to what's happening in Latrobe, do us a favor, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss an update. Rookie QB Will Howard goes down with a hand injury. Aaron Rodgers gives his reaction. Wide receiver Roman Wilson fights back after early struggles and sends a message to coaches and fans alike. What all this means for the Steelers' 2025 depth, chart, and future. Let's get into it. The Pittsburgh Steelers. We're really starting to buzz about rookie QB Will Howard. Drafted in the 6th round out of Kansas State, Howard was turning heads at training camp with a strong arm, smart decisions, and real poise in the pocket. He looked like a lock to make the 53-man roster as the third quarterback behind Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. But then disaster struck. Howard suffered a fractured hand during practice and is now expected to miss the entire preseason. That's a brutal blow for any rookie, but especially one who is starting to build real momentum. Now, instead of taking live preseason snaps, Howard will be watching from the sidelines, sitting in meetings, and recovering, while Skylar Thompson pushes to take his spot on the depth chart. And while Steelers fans are hurting for the young QB, you can tell Aaron Rodgers is feeling it too. Rodgers, who's become a bit of a mentor for Howard since arriving in Pittsburgh, spoke candidly when asked about the injury. It sucks. Sucks for him, for sure, because he's had such a nice camp as a young player, and then watching him in minicamp and just seeing his command of the offense, Rodgers said, but this year is a growth year for him. That's the tone of a guy who really cares. Rodgers has spent time coaching up Howard, watching him attack each rep and leading by example. Now, with Howard sidelined, Rodgers' role shifts from mentor on the field to motivator during rehab. The two had formed a strong bond quickly, and Rodgers had been vocal about Howard's intelligence, maturity, and hunger to learn. With zero expectations to play this season, Howard's real goal was experience, exposure, and growth. And missing preseason reps, that's tough. What's crazy is, Howard had become a low-key fan favorite. While the first and second team offenses were struggling at times during camp, Howard was lighting up third-team reps, even developing a surprising chemistry with undrafted Taj Galbraith, who's now got a legit shot at making the final roster. Some insiders were even whispering that Howard was pushing Rudolph for the QB2 spot. Not because Rudolph was bad, but because Howard was just that impressive. Now, with no preseason action in sight, that competition is over. Rudolph wins the backup role by default, and you hate to see it go down that way, let's be clear. Howard was never expected to be the guy. The Steelers are projected to use major draft capital in 2026 to go get their future franchise quarterback. Howard, as a 6th-rounder, was seen more as a high-upside developmental piece. But next year, the battle for the backup QB job could be back on. Rudolph is under contract through 2026. And depending on who the Steelers draft, Howard might once again be fighting for position. If Pittsburgh doesn't trust a rookie to start right away, and history says they won't, Rudolph could be the placeholder. Howard's path won't be easy, but don't count him out. This kid has already made an impression, and with Rodgers in his corner, the future still has promise. Let's switch gears, because another young Steeler is rewriting his training camp story. Roman Wilson. The 2024 third-round pick had a rocky start to camp. After Calvin Austin III went down early, Wilson had a chance to step up and claim a bigger role. But he struggled, dropping passes, missing connections with Rodgers, and falling behind Robert Woods on the depth chart. Then, Monday hit. The team had an off day, and something changed. Maybe it was mental. Maybe it was the release of the first official 2025 depth chart that did it, which listed Wilson as the third-string Z receiver behind Austin and Woods, that turned Wilson into a bubble player. With Pittsburgh likely to carry only 5 wideouts, Wilson was suddenly fighting for his NFL life. And on Tuesday, he responded. At Tuesday's practice, Wilson balled out. He was everywhere, catching passes in traffic, running crisp routes, and finally showing the chemistry with Aaron Rodgers that had been missing earlier. Reporters said Wilson made play after play, and when the whistle blew at the end of the day, he went straight to the jugs machine, grinding to make sure he doesn't lose his rhythm. That's the kind of practice that gets coaches buzzing, and for Wilson, it couldn't have come at a better time. But here's the truth. One great day isn't enough. Wilson has to stack great days now. That's what the NFL is all about. He showed the coaching staff exactly how good he can be. Now that's the expectation. He can't go back to the sluggish, inconsistent version of himself. From early in camp, if he does, he might not make the roster, but if he keeps grinding, if he keeps showing what we saw on Tuesday, he could secure a long-term role in Pittsburgh. The talent is there. The question now is whether the consistency will follow. Steelers fans, let's be honest, we all remember the pain. The 2024 wildcard loss to the Ravens. 299 rushing yards allowed. Derrick Henry ran wild. Lamar Jackson made it look easy. It was a defensive breakdown that nobody in the organization has forgotten. And from that moment forward, the Steelers front office and coaching staff made one thing crystal clear: things needed to change. That's where rookie defensive lineman Derek Harmon comes in, with the 21st overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Pittsburgh took a chance on the powerful, explosive lineman out of Michigan State. And now, just a few weeks into training camp, it's not just a chance, it's looking like a home run. According to insider Gary Dulac, who spoke on WDVE 102.5 this week, Steelers coaches are absolutely thrilled with what they've seen so far. I'll tell you who's buzzing about it quietly and internally are those coaches. They love this guy. From what they've seen, they're thinking this pick is a home run, Dulac said. Now we'll see how it plays out, but he looks terrific. Let that sink in. We're not talking about cautious optimism here. We're talking about full-on excitement from the coaching staff, guys who've worked with Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and Casey Hampton in their primes. Harmon is already earning that kind of attention. So what exactly has Harmon done to turn heads? Let's break it down. Explosiveness off the snap. Harmon has been wreaking havoc in the backfield in nearly every practice. Whether it's run stuffing or collapsing the pocket, he's there. Fast. Physical dominance, even in drills against the Steelers' top offensive linemen. He's holding his ground and then some. Football IQ coaches and teammates say he's already learning the complex Steelers scheme at a rapid pace. He stays late in meetings, he takes notes. He asks the right questions. He studies film with Cam Hayward and picks Keanu Benton's brain. Locker room presence for a rookie. He's humble, quiet, focused, but intense. That last part matters more than people realize. In a locker room full of veterans and future Hall of Famers. Harmon hasn't just blended in, he's stood out for all the right reasons. Let's connect the dots. The Steelers' defense is already stacked. You've got TJ Watt still playing at an elite level. Minkah Fitzpatrick patrolling the secondary. Cam Hayward, the veteran voice of the front line. Keanu Benton emerging as a force in year 2. Now you add Harmon into the mix. We're looking at a unit that could dominate up front. Make no mistake, Harmon isn't here to sit and wait. The coaching staff plans to start him early, and they fully believe he can be a day-one contributor. That's rare for a defensive lineman. In the NFL, especially in a defense as intricate and demanding as Pittsburgh's, but Harmon is proving he's not just physically ready, he's mentally locked in 2.1. Steelers coach reportedly told a staffer that Harmon has the mindset of a vet and the motor of a rookie. That's exactly the kind of combination Pittsburgh builds dynasties on. We've seen it before. The quiet, relentless attitude of a James Harrison. The smarts and discipline of a Troy Polamalu. The leadership and accountability of a Cam Hayward. Harmon might not be at that level yet, but the blueprint is starting to look familiar. So now it's your turn to sound off. What do you think about Will Howard's injury and how Aaron Rodgers is handling it? Can Roman Wilson bounce back and secure a roster spot after a slow start? And should the Steelers keep 5 or 6 wide receivers on the final roster? Let me know in the comments. I read them all. And remember, if you love this kind of Steelers content, hit that like button to support the channel. And subscribe so you never miss an update from training camp and beyond. Until next time, keep waving those terrible towels. And as always, here we go, Steelers Nation.